Hello, my name is Ai-Linh Miller, and this is my final presentation for EDU 522. The classroom issue I identified was technology, specifically have to do with the student Chromebook and personal devices such as cell phone, AirPod, iPad, etc. that create a distraction from their learning environment. I chose to incorporate technology more into my classroom, knowing that I haven't liked it all that much and tend to hesitate with these things. I grew up with pencil and paper and prefer them over technology. Graduated from high school almost 20 years ago. So technology wasn't a big deal back then compared to now. We all know that technology is a large part of the student life and it seems like they can't get themselves out of the screen. My implementation plan over 4 weeks was successfully put into my classroom, helping students to be more motivated and engaged. The thing I did to incorporate technology more into my classroom was using a strategy known as game-based learning. While I did not put actual game into my teaching, I used computer simulation known as PHET simulation that mimic many things we do in class and give the student a sense to what they use daily in the classroom. The result was mostly positive. The first 2 weeks were very influential to the students. They were very intrigued by the fact that I put technology into their learning environment. They were surprised because they know how much I do not enjoy using technology in my classroom. With my 4 weeks implementation plan, I plan to release simulation related to their learning, such as playing Kahoot home class quizzes for review to get them to engage, and create worksheets that ask questions based on the simulation and their thinking. There was some workaround throughout the whole implementation process as expected. Some students were not charging their Chromebook or didn't bother bringing it to school at all, having trouble staying on task, going to different websites, not understanding the content due to not listening, and a few others. I found solutions for these workarounds by contacting parents, reminding students using my resources, and supporting them by explaining what they needed to do or reminding them of my classroom expectations. They slowly disappear with time, but limiting distraction and creating the best learning environment I can is my ultimate goal. What's the why behind my choice of game-based learning? I chose it because I believe it was the best way to teach my student, and this used the idea of game to teach student. As stated by Falciani and Valencia, Illustrini 2018, found that students who use technology enjoy and outperformance those who use paper-based strategy, which I sometimes disagree, because I think with technology, it's easy for you to distract yourself. It was clear that the student performed better on tests, Kahoot quizzes, and individual worksheets when technology was more visible and infused into the classroom and instruction. I have found mostly positive interaction with myself, my student, and game-based learning. I'm inspired to use it in the future a little bit more, but still hesitate. Perhaps, maybe, for our last unit of this year that's coming up soon. Using strategy that involve technology can then one that don't have a better impact on the student motivation, engagement, and approach toward learning in the classroom. I found that when I first implemented this in my classroom, students were excited to jump back into the unit in a new way when told. Input I got from the student were with a quick opinion-based quiz that we took after our first week of game-based learning with computer simulation. It let them reflect on what they think went well, what could have gone different, and how they feel about it. I used the information that I got from the feedback to better develop my implementation plan, and I feel as it's helped me and the class get past those workarounds. The engagement and say of the student is very crucial when teaching, and we know that. It's really important to have buy-in from the student, and using it to benefit how they tackle each topic is a great way. I measure all my data objectively using different resources and aspects of my teaching experience with game-based learning. Some of those resources are products from Google, such as Google Doc and Slide, using simulation fetch, PHET simulation from the University of Colorado, composing different worksheets and evaluating students over a very well-read resources Kahoot. I use the data from the worksheet by calculating the average student score on the worksheet with questions they successfully answer correctly or master, and questions that they still need to work on with myself and possibly the class. The data from the mini Kahoot game that we play was generated by the website after we play them. I download the data and get to see what students need to work on I have accomplished. Similar to the worksheet, the FAST stimulation was the thing that tied this whole implementation together. To teach with game-based learning, a primary gaming source that is reliable and able to use educational need to be present. I did not directly choose a game that student could play in my classroom, but instead approach it with computer simulation from the University of Colorado. These simulations are not very complex and portray what we learn very well. I used to give students a step-by-step guide on what to do with their worksheet. Other implementation plan that I consider using while contemplating the choice of game-based learning were inserting social media and incorporating computer applications to do simple calculation for my student. My key point for this plan was to let the student achieve higher learning, thinking at a quicker pace and merge platform that are part of everyday life as a student. My final finding from this project were that the use of technology increased interest and engagement, while home group-based learning helped with remembrance. The simulation created an interactive and effective learning environment with scientific concepts, supporting and their proposal that student engagement can be improved in a web-based learning environment from assessment. Web-based learning can provide them with more engaging and supportive learning environment. Lastly, conduct a study in the District of South Africa, which conclude that certain factors can affect student performance. In this case, the factor was teaching the student with home group strategy. The student performance better on all of the data points presented when we use it. Overall, my experience with the game-based learning had been very educational and full of surprises. I thought that using technology with the student would improve their performances, but I never knew it would work this well. I will definitely be using this in my future in the classroom and hopefully let my students stick with the concept more, instead of them going to one ear and go out the other ear. Ultimately, at the end, I would like to incorporate more technology into my class, but from my journey over the last couple years as a teacher, I found that I stand my ground, students do better with pen, so paper, and retain the memory. So I have to figure a way to balance technology and stuff into my everyday teaching. So this class will help me prepare myself. And here are my references. And that's it. Thank you for listening to my presentation.